rolling.
We are rolling. So welcome to the Bass Nerds, everybody. I am Jody, and this is...
Not Maddie Matheson.
Not Maddie Matheson.
I'm Mark.
You only got about an eighth of the tattoos that he does.
I know. I'm going to get there.
Working on it?
Yeah.
It's a really nice shirt you got there. Where'd you get that?
Oh, I bought this from this just dog shit website for bass, but I got it kind of ironically.
Yeah.
NoTrouble.com. No, this is Jody is now the official
owner of No Trouble.
Yeah.
Corey, right?
Actually, Corey was mentioning you recently when I went out there to like do the paperwork and stuff like that. And I did an interview with him to kind of talk about the transition of No Trouble, the history of No Trouble. And I asked him who are some of his favorite bass players, and he mentions you.
Yeah,
and
I used to teach his son.
Oh, really?
On
Zoom or whatever.
On Zoom, yeah.
Well,
but he was teaching me because he was telling me what he's playing at school, and he's like, "No, listen to this." I'm like, "Oh, yeah."
Well, Corey mentions in the interview. I don't know if I released it yet, but Graceland was an album that changed his life. It's like it's one of those.
Changed my life too.
He was.
Why is that?
Man, it's because the timing was perfect when we needed the Graceland. You know, the country was going down really bad, and special musicians, because musicians they were used to play for the protesting. Like when they want to talk about Nelson Mandela or the other leaders, they will bring the musicians to play to bring a big crowd.
Yeah.
So that's how we were used, but he was not good at all. But then when Paul showed up, we didn't even know who Paul Simon was, and when I got a call, I was like, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. I don't know the guy, I can't speak English, but hey, maybe this is it. This is the end of my problem.
Yeah.
But we took chances, and Paul was kind enough to just give me an opportunity to be me, and create a lot of stuff. Because too, there was a lot of nervousness because I wasn't part of the record label.
Yeah.
And I was independent, and during that time my mother was sick, and I was looking for a job that's gonna pay me. So I was working as a mechanic for a minute, and then I got this call like 2 months later, at my mechanic job, and that Paul Simon was looking for me. My God, I was scared. I was dropping some things because I didn't even know who Paul Simon.
Yeah.
It's an English name, so who's this guy?
But
my boss is like singing the songs, Sounds of Silence, these songs, that songs, and I'm like, no, I don't know that one. Because in the township we're like 1415 groups, hectic.
Yeah.
And then he said, Paul Simon, he sings the reggae song Mother and Child Reunion. And I'm like, well, he's a Rasta. Because I know the song is a reggae song, is a Rasta. He says, no. He's from Jamaica, but he didn't say Queens. He said Queens later. I'm like, Jamaica?
Who's this white guy from
Jamaica? I was like, oh, he's a Jamaica. He's from Jamaica. He's a Rasta. He's like, no, he's not a Rasta. From Jamaica, Queens. I'm like, man.
Oh, it sounds like he knew what he was doing.
And then he gave me the money to take a bus instead of the train because the train is crowded. And then I took the bus and I go to the studio, and Paul Simon was there sitting on the floor and playing the small toys, the cars with a bunch of kids. And I'm like, man, from my mechanic job and then to daycare, what the hell is going on? And I got my Fretless. Now I didn't have a case, and I'm greasy hands. I just look so bad. But Paul's like, yeah, welcome here. We love your stuff. I've had some of your stuff, the original, like Boy in the Bubble, the original one. And then since then we start working. But for me, it was a lot of stuff going on, like overplay, don't overplay, do this, don't.
Yeah.
It was a lot of thinking, and I said, wait a minute, this is a great opportunity, so I just got to follow and do the right thing.
Yeah. And then like how was that the like first time meeting Paul? Was there like an instant personal connection there, or was it very like business?
It was business, and of course I couldn't speak, I couldn't talk with him, and
Yeah.
so we had a translator, the blind guy.
A blind translator?
Paul Simon loves your bass playing, and I said, tell him, I said, thank you. He's speaking the language and was back and forth the language. And then when I play some nice stuff, Paul is like smiling, and I'm like, oh, I still got a job.
Yeah, well, you know that language, right? The body language.
Oh, yeah. And then, of course, I was playing the Fretless, it was a new sound for Paul. I'm sure he's heard about Jacos and other Fretless pianos. But my stuff to play the Fretless on the South African groove, for me was like, I'm going to be saved by my tone.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the engineer, Roy Haley, was with me. He made the bass sound like unbelievable. He was doing stuff that I've never seen anybody doing it in South Africa, putting the blanket on top of the amp and just driving me crazy. But when I listened back, I said, yeah, man. This
You're proud of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember what you were playing through?
Mesa Boogie. No, that was New York. But in South Africa, it's either Marshall or Orange.
Yeah.
Some stuff.
Is this the story I've heard is your first Fretless was a Washburn.
Washburn B40.
I bet that was a boat anchor of a bass. Very heavy.
Yeah, well, not as heavy. What I liked about that Fretless, the body was really nice size that I couldn't, I could get around it. But the bass was sitting at the shop for a long time. The shop that I used to go and practice a good bass because I didn't have a bass. Like most gigs that I played in the township, they have the bass. Sometimes Gibson, Thunderbird, like huge stuff. So I would go to the music store and practice until the guy, you find out like this guy always comes here and practice. He never buy anything. One time, and he's like, wait a minute, we've seen you come here all the time. You never buy anything. You just leave without buying anything. And I said, man, please, I'm just practicing. I don't have a bass. He says, no, go play that bass. The Fretless was sitting by the door. Then I pick up the Fretless. It was not good. Man, my God. He was like, how you play this damn thing? There's no lines. But then I kind of got used to it. Every time I go practice the Fretless, it's like, wait a minute, I got to listen to it instead of me trying to
right, just like do it. You gotta.
Yeah, and I asked my mother, please give me some money. I need to buy the bass because I don't have a bass to practice at home. So
yeah,
and my mother bought me the bass, and that's when I started to get kicked out of some bands that I've been playing with them in the township because the sound was different. The singer would say, "Oh, something is wrong here," because I'm like looking for the tonation.
Yeah.
But, then I decided to go to the mountain in Lesotho and play with the traditional people. The boy in the bubble, they play accordion and they drinking and,
Yeah.
And I find my sound. And then when Paul came and I was really, me and Fretless connected.
And then was that the Washburn bass on
the B40,
Graceland?
Yes.
That's the bass you use.
B40,
So you walk in with that bass, greasy hand, no case.
Yeah. I show up with it, and then Paul saw the Fretless. He was like, wait a minute, do you need another bass? Yeah, let's get you another bass. He bought me a Fender. So,
nice.
but the Fretless, there was something special about it,
I'd never heard slapping on a fretless. Like I've been listening to I heard them because Primus is the reason I play bass, but hadn't really consciously made the connection until my older brother pointed out what you were using on these records, and I was just like, oh, and then you hear like the slap lines, and it's like, that is such a cool sound.
Yeah, because it's the percussive.
I mean, you're kind of a pioneer for that. Yeah.
Well,
I think so. You're the first reference I use.
Yeah, I mean, like for the fretless, because really my uncle's bass player used to play the upright double bass.
Yeah.
But he was doing all that slapping stuff.
Yeah.
It's a different tone, though.
Yeah,
and it's a different way of playing.
Yeah, because too, he wasn't slapping like, using the thumb. But
or like the rockabilly.
He was pulling,
Yeah, which is, I mean, that of course, there's always going to be a predecessor to each thing, with Larry Graham and the, doing that stuff with his mom. But yeah, you're the reference when it comes to like the sort of definitive fretless tone for me, how I like to hear it, but especially with slapping on the fretless, just
it's a lot
so
that
good.
goes on with it. It's you can't just slap without getting a right tone for it, and then the dialing between, like you put the clockwise, then you get both pickups, then you get like a cleaner sound. Also to the amp, you gotta tone the amp so that it's not too bright, but you still get that percussive.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a plan for this because I was like, man, I'm not going to let this go.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it, but not overdoing it. Like, Call Me Out it's the same feel, but when it goes to chorus, I use the slapping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or down. Like, I had to split that because, there's not too many things I can do, but
Right.
But everything just worked, man, and of course with the grace of God, because I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of it, though, and in those moments where you're left to your devices and instincts. It was one of those
moments that this is it, man. I just saw a freedom. And then, but of course, there was some political going on to say why this guy was in South Africa to take an advantage of musicians.
Yeah.
But then I said, man, I'm not listening to these people because they don't even support musicians and say, listen, don't do anything. We'll buy you this and buy this. I struggle my way, and then they're going to tell me not to do this. To hell with that.
Yeah.
And I just stay with it. And when I came to New York, it was like another place to land out to cross the street or walking. People are walking this way, you walking there. I was doing the tango dancing.
Do you think that had a sort of political impact?
Yeah, it did.
As well?
It did, because politicians, they just wanted to get something from Paul to say he's using the musician. When the man loved the music, somebody sent him the music of South Africa and he fell in love with that music, and then he called us. He just went to South Africa to record. Spend his money, and he loved the music. We taught him some stuff. There was a time when we were playing the groove, and then he asked us, where's one? What? Nobody has asked me one. I don't know, say I have my own one,
Right. Wow. How old were you when you like walk in the studio for the first time with Paul?
I think about maybe 28, 29.
Yeah.
I think I was ready to work. I was ready to make some money.
Well, you're probably not so excited to be working as a mechanic, right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's a rewarding job, though. When you do like a job and you get it working. Oof.
I only imagine the mechanic shops in South Africa as being not as fun to work in. Right, like it's
no, it was not fun to work. Even when I was looking for that job and I saw the guy under the car doing stuff, and I got my fretless, and this guy just went straight to his office, and then he came up with a gun, and he said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yes, sir. I'm looking for a job. My mother, she's sick, and I'm a musician, but I'm not doing well. I play the bass," and I show him the bass. Kind of relaxed, like, oh, wait a minute, he sounds very desperate.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you know about cars? And I said, I don't know anything. I mean, you gotta teach me. I need to learn. But there was that thing, like, should I trust him or not trust him? And also too, I didn't really trust the guy that maybe something might happen because he was a white South African.
Okay.
But he's like, okay, so I'll give you an opportunity. During lunchtime, I'll take my bass and start playing stuff. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're a musician. But when that call came that Paul Simon was looking for me, he answered the call and it's like, Paul Simon, who? I don't know.
And he's the one explaining to you who he is.
Yeah. And he was like spending time. He's like, man, I'm happy for you. They want you to come to the studio and record. And for me, it's like, wow, the session, I will go. Yeah. And, but he really helped me a lot. And then after I got paid the big dollars, 2 days of a good session, and then I called him and said, listen, find another guy. I'm not coming back. I think this is my job now, from now on.
Yeah. How was that? I mean, was that a pleasant phone call?
Yeah, he was happy for me. He was like, man, I'm happy for you, and because I can see that you love music and everything. He's like, no problem. Yeah. Good luck, and I took off from there.
Huh. So you, where were you born originally?
I was born in Alexander Township, it's like 25 minutes away from the city of Johannesburg.
Yeah.
And then my mother took me to my grandmother's house in Soweto.
Okay.
The township, and I grew up in the township.
Is that where the music store was? Where the Washburn?
The music store was in the city of Johannesburg.
Okay.
Yeah, like Marshall Music Store and Tom's Music Store.
Did they have like a big selection there too?
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a huge store that you can hide and play stuff quietly.
How old were you when you got the Washburn?
When I got the Washburn, it was, oh my goodness, maybe like 18.
Yeah.
18, 19, something like that.
And you've been playing bass for a while.
I've been playing bass since I was 8 years old. I played with my uncle's band. When my uncle's bass player got drunk, and my uncle looked at me like, hey, listen, you've been talking to him about the songs. Did you learn anything now? Because he cannot play. We have his bass. I said, yeah, I'll try.
And you never played it, and here you are 8 years old.
Yeah, no, and but I started to really play when I was about 12 years old. But at 8, I was just listening to him, teaching me the names of the strings, and just watching him playing all the time. But when I was now 8 and he was drunk, and I'm like, I'm just gonna smile. People love the smile and pretend like I'm doing good, but stay with it,
Yeah, you can feel the pulse. Yeah. That's really cool. And you were doing that. I mean, that was your introduction. It was sort of like sounds like a trial by fire.
Yeah, because my uncle played saxophone, so I learned everything at home because they used to practice at home.
Yeah.
Every weekend I just sit down there and watch them drinking and playing, and I said, yeah, I like that, but except the drinking part. And then sometimes he'll take me to his wedding gigs, and he said, sit here, do not go. And my mother's like, listen, you cannot get drunk because you're gonna lose the kid. And so he was responsible for me. But I just really loved the music. And my father was a musician, but I never met him. My mother used to tell me, like, your dad was a guitar player, but he left. So, and I'm like, well, I think I got it from them. So I'm just going to go distance. No school. I've never been to school. My school was the bass.
Yeah. Self-taught.
Yeah.
I mean, that is arguably the best way to learn an instrument is to actually perform, like to go out and play and take chances and fail and get bad responses and stuff,
Yeah, and taking chances in South Africa during the apartheid too, that was another thing, because I had to go to different part of the township where there's musicians. I will go and check it out, but I got to go through the systems control. And
so at that point, you really have to be dedicated to the craft.
Yeah.
In order to do that, like for us, like the advantage of just being able to like go anywhere,
go to school,
literally anywhere. That's. I think I've always felt. I mean, it's a well documented thing that struggle breeds the best creativity.
That's true.
Like it's like you at the fretless bass. You had to learn how to do this because that was what was available, under the circumstances.
That's true. When you desperate, you'll do everything to get through that.
Right.
Like in South Africa, it was not easy. It's still not easy today.
Yeah.
Musicians don't have instruments. If you have the bass, you don't have strings. You don't have an amp. It's still a struggle. But you got to stay with it until good opportunity comes up.
Are there any resources that you are aware of that we can give a shout out to that would help some of those musicians?
I don't think it's going to help anyway, because even some of the cats don't have even phones. They're not connected.
Yeah.
I was in South Africa 2 years ago. I took my wife to see my kids, my grandkids, and now I try to call all the musicians that I used to hang out with them, and they don't have calls. And it was a disaster. And some of them don't have amps, and they have the low shedding. The electricity is just up and down because the government feels like, hey, wait a minute, I can't just give people free electricity. They're not paying for this because they don't have jobs.
Yeah.
So it's just a mess, and musicians are really struggling. And the record label, they take over.
Yeah.
They take over. They want the younger ones that they, like Taylor, not Taylor, Tyler. The South African singer. She's like 18 years old, and she's huge.
Anyone they can kind of market to through social networks and stuff like that, get a big following, stuff like that.
But the system is it's confusing for a lot of musicians.
Well, what do you think? What are a couple things you think would help musicians in South Africa? I mean, it sounds like the government is a big bottleneck, electricity, whatever. Yeah. Is it just like South Africa needs a revolution, or they just need jobs or infrastructure?
It's really hard. I don't think anything is going to change at this point. Like I was telling my son, I said, listen, you're going through the same struggle that I went when I was a kid. And now you are feeling that, and my son has his son, which is my grandson. Growing up in that place, it's like there's no control.
Yeah.
The people that they call themselves leaders, it's just leaders, but they're not really thinking about people. What can they do for people? Special education, the schools.
Yeah.
Its school system is brutal. Unless you have money, your parents have money, then you go to good schools. But otherwise, musicians, they're on their own.
Yeah. I mean, would you say you're like South Africa's still recovering from apartheid? Is it still prevalent? Like a lot of racism, a lot of...
Based on what I saw last time when I went there, I feel like it's worse than it was before.
Really?
Yes. Because now you have a lot of other people come from other part of Africa. So it's kind of chaotic, and there's drugs, and there's trafficking, there's all kinds of problem.
Wow.
But the leaders, they're not taking care of that. Make sure that people don't just come in and bring drugs and doing the trafficking. But which is a problem that it's going to take years to fix, because some of the students during the apartheid 1976, June 16, they were sent to other countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and all of those places to study. So now once South Africa got their freedom, now these people, they want to come because they're like, hey, look, you came to our country, and so they're coming. And when they come, they just want to take over.
Yeah.
And everything. So it's a mess. And then the fact that we have so many cultures that don't get along among themselves.
Yeah.
Zulu, Sotho, Xhosa, Tswana, Shangaan, Pedi, Ndebele. Those people, they don't understand each other's, culture.
Yeah. Do they have from your perspective, like an actual democratic voting situation? Like, do you think it's possible to vote in the right leader if that right leader comes along, or is
you don't know about, if he's the right leader, you just follow. If my neighbor said, hey, I'm going to vote for this guy, you're like, me too,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the guys because people are not educated like in America. In America, you watch TV and see who's the good person that I can say, maybe, I can lean on that person.
Yeah.
Over there, you just follow.
Yeah, you don't know.
No, you don't know.
Huh.
You just follow. I mean, I left them 40 years ago, but
Yeah.
when I look back and I'm like, man, this is a disaster.
So your
my
advice
first
is
vote was when I was in America.
Really?
I voted for Nelson Mandela. I was already here.
yeah. Wow.
That is definitely a testament to the importance of education, and if
Well, that's the thing that the system got the South African because the education. So you don't know what they teach you in the schools there. They don't even teach you about the apartheid.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go to the museum of apartheid to read about what happened. But in the schools, I went to visit my granddaughter's school, and I just didn't like what I saw. And funny thing, they had like musical instrument in the room. There was a room that was locked for 18 years.
Yeah.
So and I asked the guy, the principal, I said, hey, what's in that room? It's like, I don't know. I'll get the key. He went to get the key and he opened, my God, like drums in boxes and brand new drums. They never use them.
No.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow.
And this was the way you got out, through music, right? So you're like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? And I mean, if South Africa is anything, it's culture, it's music, it's, that's a thing you can point at South Africa and go like, this is the best of us, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what we do really well, as opposed to maybe some political nonsense or, obviously apartheid and Mandela story and that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate.
It's something that's not gonna be easy to to put it together.
Yeah.
Because right now it's chaos.
Yeah.
It's chaos. I went to my township. My driver told me that you cannot go to where you used to live at your grandmother's house because the roads are messed up. If you get a flat tire, you get robbed. I couldn't even go to my mother's graveyard.
No.
Because they told me, you go to the cemetery, they come and shoot you, take your car, and just like really scary stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you see the educational systems in crisis in any country, that should be ringing the biggest alarm bells for people.
Yeah, there's a couple ones, right? Like, I think even before school systems is like hospitals. You need hospitals. If you're sick, it doesn't matter. You're not getting an education no matter what, right? So you need hospitals, one.
Yeah.
Two is probably schools and like...
Are we fixing the world right now?
Yes, police, fire, you need that, right? Schools, these are like big ones. But, you also like, it's where you're located. Like, what are the resources in South Africa that you can export? And, like, what does South Africa have to offer to the rest of the world where, the U.S. is drilling for oil and providing minerals and stuff like that. So like, but then I know there's like a lot of diamond mining in South Africa, and then that's not a
it's
easy
mind-blowing
thing to do.
that you're gonna have all this stuff and still poor.
Right.
Diamonds, gold, the minerals and
Right.
But the country is it was set up that way that even the younger people, they're not interested to be like gold miners or to know about the farming. They just want to be on the internet and TikTok, whatever.
Well, that's the fun part, right? So scrolling on the internet, seeing your favorite bass player, whatever. Sitting in a coal mine does not sound very appealing. And then the long history of just taking advantage of
an exploitative stuff.
But also too, that's
that
something that they should have done. Like educate the local people to work, not just to work there and dig in all the gold and diamonds,
but to have equity,
to give it away and not take care of their families.
Right. Well, you keep them dumb so you can control them.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately...
That's the point I was getting at.
Right.
Whenever you see education systems in crisis, that's the biggest alarm bell.
That's what's going on.
Well, it's, I blame the leaders. Nelson Mandela had a great idea, but, he was kept in prison for like 30-some years, and
Well,
and when he came back out, he was just so tired to like talk, get the country going.
Right. No.
Because too, it's a lot of people, like I said earlier, that it's different cultures. You can only talk to your culture people and they understand, but what about the others?
Right. Well, you rattled off like 6 or 7 different like cultural whatevers, and it's like if they all have their own set of beliefs and values and stuff like that, it's kind of hard.
How do they intersect?
Right, yeah. How do you
like Lesotho? It's about 3 hours from Johannesburg, but it's another country. They use different currency. They speak different language. They don't want to be part of the Zulus. Right. And you go to Zululand, I guess they still use the Kruger rands.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to speak. So how many languages do you speak?
I would say 16 languages. I can communicate with any township language, South Africans.
Yeah, because
to ask cigarettes or
know.
I barely speak English.
Right, no, my English is questionable.
Hey, English was hard for me when I first, came in. I said, "Good morning." They said, "Oh well, take that out." Good evening, Paul Simon.
Dude, I don't want to laugh at that. Dude.
I'm going to laugh. If it's funny, I'm laughing. I mean,
stop it over there.
No, because I thought if you have to put the click in it, like I can't just say good morning, good morning. It sounds much stronger, like I'm saying.
It does sound stronger. I wish I could. I might practice in the mirror.
It's beautiful. It's full of like anima. It's.
Well, we were talking about how like struggle can often breed. I don't want
to glorify that though.
No, but what I mean,
like people
I want to
point back to.
I want to point back to the first time you meeting Paul in the studio, like perhaps the fact that you couldn't communicate and speak language to each other meant that like you could really only communicate through music, right?
Yes.
So then you're like not sitting there talking about what you're going to have for lunch or what's going on or what it's just like
you're like oh, he's going to have egg salad. Wow, okay, he's going to try it.
Maybe perhaps the fact that you guys weren't able to communicate is built that stronger bond in the studio, because it was like maybe it was kind of more all business and less casualness, but we
didn't even know if it was more like business. It was I mean, like really scary. Now I'm in the studio with an American musician.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he wants and what should I do, and I can't communicate very well. It was a lot of things, and you're thinking about outside too, the politicians.
Yeah.
It was a lot of things, but playing, it's what really saves us.
Yeah.
And then, but if Paul is talking to the blind guy about what he wants from us, and then we start clicking, me and other people, what is he talking about?
I wish there was video of this. I hope there's video of this somewore.
No, that's what before the videos.
Oh yeah, I guess this is in the early '80s, right?
Yeah.
So,
I want to try to cover some of like the in between, because you were talking about. So you first start playing bass at 8 years old. You really start playing when you're 12.
12.
What
13,
like sort of stylistically, what were you doing back then? Like, were you doing your uncle's wedding gigs and stuff like that too?
Yeah, my uncle had a big band. They were playing like count basses stuff, like 12-bar blues. He used to say, "Play the 12-bar blues," and I'm like, "What is 12-bar blues?"
Where's the one?
Walking bass line. You
can
play.
You can play.
You can play any note you can think of on the bass, like boom, 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 boom. Just walk, But there was a lot of music in South Africa. That was British music and American music, because the radio stations, that's what they were giving to the, local people. They'll play like Motown stuff, and I love that. Hear that good bass and.
Keep going.
And hear some some jazz stuff, because that's what the record companies and radio station were paying the bills for the radio station. The record companies. So they'll play those music for us. Never a traditional, except maybe in 1 hour they'll play like a Zulu music. But most it was all the international music, and for me, I was really glued to the bass. What is he doing? You know, I can't see the fingering, but I hear some good stuff. So everything, it was like really guessing. You know, whatever comes up, you just land it. You know,
just
playing some Edwin and Fire stuff with the fretless.
That would be
terribly.
that would be fun though.
You know, but it was really like a hustle. But I think from my point, I hustle more than any bass player in South Africa, because I had to go to find the bass in order to play, because he was in the township where I was. So I have to go to another township and get robbed to find the bass. But once I stayed with it, it just got better every time.
So, you know, I remember being 12, 13, getting into music and getting into playing bass and just going down the rabbit hole of how to digesting music, not just like the listening to it on the radio or whatever medium, record, CD, tapes and stuff, but diving even deeper to find out the personnel and reading the magazines. Were there any sort of resources that you were looking at back then to sort of really learn about these songs that we were hearing, or was it just everything you heard on the radio?
Just the radio. Small speaker like this, you find the bass, you know.
So when
there
did
was
you
no
learn?
no videos or TV or anything.
Yeah.
You know, so it was about just put it together, you know.
So when did you learn that, like, on those Motown records, that James Jamerson was behind all of those iconic bass lines?
Oh, yeah. It was not even easy to learn that, you know, like playing What's Going On. I mean, the bass was moving so much.
Yeah.
I still haven't learned it. I still, to this day, have not mastered it.
But like,
how is he doing it? Because I've never seen before videos. Like I've never seen anybody playing with this way, or playing the slapping. Now, I used to play with a thumb like this, you know, or sometimes use a pick for the bass. Mm-hmm. And then one time I was stuck in Zululand for about 16 months. I couldn't come home. I couldn't write. There was no telephone. And I dreamed about a bass player, no head, but the bass player was just playing this way. Then I woke up and I said, wait a minute, I got to try this. And I remember that dream, and I try, and then everything just changes. Now I didn't even know how to rest on the bass. Now I do. I rest on the lower string when I play, so I can, you know, dig in more. But before I was, you know, sitting on the body, you know, like try to play like the person on my dream, and but things got better, and I just keep practicing that way. And the sound changed. The tone is not like, you know, it's not clicking. So it's nice. Can move like one finger, two finger, then I can play a Marvin Gaye song. And
how old were you when you had this dream?
Oh, nice. Well, I was 20 now.
Yeah.
20 years old. That's way before the Graceland. And
yeah, you know, like,
you know, I got stuck in Zimbabwe too. For the first time, get stuck in Africa, because Zimbabwe is Southern Africa. But we were not allowed to leave South Africa to go to any Africa or Nigeria or Ghana. Or you can go to Europe, or you can come to America. But when I got stuck in Zimbabwe, it just changed my bass playing too, because they play Shona music, you know. So the whole groove is different, and so I got rid of all my Edwin and Fire, breezing, George Benson stuff.
Oh,
man, I'm in Africa, you know, like every day I hear it's like African music, so I'm back home. But for me, it was about really learning, go distance as much as you can.
Yeah.
At 69 today.
Hey.
You know, that almost forced education, that also like opens up so many new doors, and you take some of that, like what you learned from Zimbabwe in your time there, and you sort of put it into everything else.
And the timing of that Zimbabwean recording, now I'm back from Zululand, now I'm in Zimbabwe, stuck in Zimbabwe, learning the Shona. after 8 months, one of the producers from Ladysmith Black Mambazo, he was in Zimbabwe, and he saw me playing at the club, and he's like, "Wait a minute, we've been looking for you to come play some session for us." And I said, "We're stuck here. I can't go back home." He's like, "No, we'll put you on the plane." And he put me on the plane, left the rest of the band, and I went back to Johannesburg, and I started to record. And when Paul came, now I was seasoned with like some really Zimbabwean, African bass lines from Sutu to Zimbabwe.
That's really cool. Are there any specific records we could reference with you on there prior to your career with Paul?
I don't know if you can find them because
I'm determined. I'm going to follow up with you on this. One of the best apps I've ever heard of is this app called Radio, and it's got like 4 or 5 O's at the end.
Somebody just sent me a picture of some recordings that I've done in like early 80s.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember. I know the artist, but I couldn't remember I played on that record. You just sent me like 3 albums, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Are you on the liner notes too?
Huh?
Are you on the liner notes? To your
Yes,
knowledge?
yes, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to find them. But the app I was saying, the concept is it has a world map, and then at the bottom you have like a timeline, like by decade, right? You could pick a decade like, let's say, 60s, and then it'll highlight all of the countries that have music that's available to stream from those countries in that specific decade. And it's all like user driven, so they'll upload stuff and like make sure the royalties go to the artists and stuff if they can track them down. And you can click Zimbabwe, you can click South Africa, and like listen to what was available at the time.
Yeah.
And like there'll be days where I'm like, I'm gonna listen to, I don't know, 80s Indonesian music today.
Right. That's so cool.
And it's awesome. And so I'm gonna creep around there. This is like
there's some project,
80s,
because I played with every artist in South Africa without getting paid, and just show up and just record and enjoy to hear my bass playing back, But there's so many recordings I don't even remember. Sometimes I hear a song and I'm like, wow, that guy sounds. We have the similar stuff, but then find out it's this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
when you do the session with Paul, how long is that process? Are you there for a couple days, a couple weeks,
I think we stayed about 2 weeks, and he got us the hotel to stay at the hotel so that I don't go to the township back and forth because I might not show up.
Right. And then are you, at what point is Paul like, I want you to come on tour with me and like come, or you guys like, didn't you go to New York and finish the album or something?
we finished some stuff recording in South Africa, and then Paul is like, look, we're gonna have to fly you guys to New York to record more stuff in New York, and without any papers or passport.
Yeah.
I had to find somebody to take us to the police station to get some paperwork and get ready to fly to America.
And you're just like, I'm ready to go. You're nervous.
I've never been on the plane. First, I was nervous to get on the plane, but I'm like, I don't care, man. Whatever happens, I'm out of this country. And
that had to have been so exciting.
I got on the plane. I don't even know how to eat with a fork and knife. They give us like this. I'm like, man, I can't believe this. We're sitting in the first class and drinking champagne, my God. And I'm like, wow, I've been drinking a bad wine, like $5 wine.
Have you ever had champagne before? Had you had champagne before?
No.
First time? What'd you think?
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
After a couple of those glasses, man, everybody was clinking like crazy. The excitement was building up. But then, you fly 17 hours. After 6 hours, you're like, what the hell is America?
Yeah.
You look outside, it's nothing. You're still flying. They said, sir, you're going to have breakfast in a few minutes. You eat, you wake up, you're still flying. Man, it was unbelievable. And then we show up at JFK.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, we are in America.
Yeah. And then when he's like, all right, come to New York. We're going to record there a couple weeks or whatever. Are you still the goal is like in your mind, like I'm gonna go to America, record this, and then probably go back to South Africa, or is he like, I want to tour with you guys, or that comes later?
No, the tour came later. The tour came later after we finished recording in New York, and then we go back home.
Yeah.
And then 2 months later, I'm taking a cab from township to the city, and I hear call me out. I say, wait a minute. I'm sitting with a bunch of strangers, and I hear this song, and then I'm like freaking out, and I tell people, that's me playing.
That's awesome.
The driver, the taxi driver, he stopped the car, and then I hit the front seat, the seat in front of me. Like, shut up. That's not you. You know, like, you don't even know these people. And I'm like, wow.
You're taking me to the airport.
But now, too, I'm like confused. Maybe it's somebody else, you know. I don't know, but...
Yeah.
Did he use you? Yeah.
This is amazing. And then 2 months later, I get a call to say, well, get your passport together, and then you come to America again, and for rehearsal, we'll meet in London.
Wow.
Fly to London, and I said, man, we made it. The song was playing like 3, 4, 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, freaking Chevy Chase in there on the music video.
I got mad about that when I saw the video, and I'm like, wait a minute. How is Chevy Chase doing this? But then, you know, Paul explained like, hey, he's an actor, so, you know, this was good to get the song exciting.
Yeah. Wow.
But I mean,
so
that song saved my life because too, you know, I just asked to do some snapping on the song.
Yeah.
And they buy it. Paul is like, yeah, we'll take it, but if it's not good, we'll replace with something else.
Yeah.
And that was it for me.
Yeah.
How many takes did you do of
one take?
I mean, of the song as a whole, you just did it in
one time, especially when it came to
so he didn't have any other okay, here's a B version of him playing more reserved?
No, it was one time I played dun 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 dun, and then there was a breakdown, and then I asked Paul, it's my birthday today. Can I just,
It's my birthday today.
Can I get excited a little bit? And Paul is like, yeah, sure. We'll keep it if it's good. If not, we'll find something else. And I play one time, and then the engineers stopped me. Like, I did this, don't, and then stop. And I'm like, I guess they don't like it. And then he calls me, come here, come to the control room. And I go to the control room. He's doing the backwards thing. He's like, check this out now. You're going to have to learn how to play this way. He plays this. I'm like, oh my God.
Play backwards now.
No, I'm nervous. Like, oh my God. I go to the hotel and I try, and man, this is crazy. But I had to really practice it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can come close to it. Not really exactly because it's all backwards. But the greatest thing about that, it's because it was the fretless. So there was no frets noise.
Right.
So when you play, it's just smooth sound.
Yeah, just so like that reverse effect is naturally has a smoothing.
He saved me, and I ended up meeting Marcus Miller, my favorite bass player. And he came to the Radio City Hall to watch this guy from South Africa playing backwards. He's standing behind the curtain, and I was doing a sound check with Paul, and I see him, oh man.
That's so fun.
That's awesome.
But
really awesome.
like stylistically, I guess culturally, where would a bass line like that be commonplace? Not the breakdown, but like the bass line as a whole, like do.
So that bass line is because it's 1-4-5 or 1-4-1-5 groove, but that kind of bass line is from the Calypso, Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 ding dun ding dun 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 ding dun 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 ding dun ding, and then they play the steel pan stuff. But for me it was dun 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 ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
So not like most like the Calypso, but that's the style. It's called umbaqanga.
I see. Where does that come from?
From Zululand.
From Zululand.
Yeah.
Well, everything's
Because
so syncopated
like
and offbeat.
The click, that's why they call the umpakanga, because of the click. The click.
Is there a particular instrument that is like specifically dedicated towards that click?
No, it's, because we use most Western instruments.
Yeah.
So it's, the click comes from the snare drum, actually.
Yeah. I see.
It's most like polka, because polka gave, the Polish, they gave us that rhythm, and we took it and made
it cooler.
All right, everybody's dancing, this is good.
You made it cooler. No offense
put the
to
accordion on top, oh man, no, it's not Polish anymore.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Because we're not like West African. West Africans, they are playing talking drums, and they're playing, other djembes. In South Africa, it was more like Western. You play piano, saxophone,
But there's still an influence because like of how many cultures are coming together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm interested to know. You go back after you do the session.
Yeah.
You go back. Paul's like, hey, I want to go on tour. Come back.
Yes.
What's that first tour like? I imagine you're playing stadiums, right?
Man, I think we played for like 60,000 people. No.
Is that your first time playing a show like that?
Yes, the first time playing, I think we played in maybe Germany. I can't exactly remember. And the place was packed with people, and I'm so nervous. I'm praying. I don't even know how to pray.
Yeah.
Behind the curtains, like not to break the strings, and remembering the solo, call me out. Oh my God, like everything was really going crazy. And my goodness, before I play my solo, we play the song. Dun, dun, dun. People are just jumping and dancing and all of that stuff. My solo, I see everybody's coming closer as I was going forward.
All right, how's he gonna do this?
Yeah.
Every bass player in the audience is like zeroed in.
Is that him doing that? And my goodness, I played the first part. They were screaming, and I said, forget the next part, because they're loving it already.
You can do whatever you want.
And people loved it, and I said, man, now I just need to relax. And I need to relax. Every night I'll go back to the hotel and just learn my solo.
Yeah.
Learn my solo. And man, everywhere we played, and I will play the solo twice. The solo in the middle, and then the solo in the end.
Right.
Just so tight.
And people, they love that. In Zimbabwe, we had to play that song twice because people, they wanted that song.
Yeah.
And the guitar player tells Paul, you better play this twice because they're not gonna be happy if you don't do that.
Play it early, play it at the end.
Yeah.
And then we did it. They loved it.
Where did you all have that song in the set usually? Was it like a set each night, or did you all change it up?
No, each night.
Yeah.
And it comes right in the middle of almost the end of the show.
Yeah.
Well, you obviously have a huge body of work beyond that song. Of course, that's the breakthrough song. But even just thinking about Graceland, like what was the song that you had the most fun writing your parts to and constructing?
Graceland.
Yeah.
The Graceland was the beginning of, really come up with some things, because too I was using a lot of fretless. Dun dun ding dun dun ding dun dun ding dun dun ding dun 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 ding dun ding. I came up with that triplet.
That's so, I love that part. I remember my brother specifically saying, like, when I got that record, I think about 14. Of course I went right to You Can Call Me Al, and he explained like how he heard about how that solo was done. Yeah. But he's like, don't skip these other songs. Like listen to this song Graceland, and then
Boy in the Bubble too is a rocker.
Yeah.
I was going crazy, my God. I was shaking my head as I was playing.
I think my brother said he specifically wants that song played at his funeral. Boy in the Bubble. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, because this is also before Pro Tools. You're doing everything on tape, I assume.
On tape, yeah.
Everything. You got one take, right? or unless you're really good, you can cut the tape, right? But like most of it's like you got to play the whole song all the way through. You can't. I do a lot of like sync music, and it's like, all right, here's the chorus. All right, let's punch in this thing. Let's just do this.
Oh yeah,
it's super easy now to like.
Oh, it's made me such a worse musician though.
Oh, I've written and I get royalty checks for songs that I don't know how to play because I've never had to like really workshop them or whatever. I do it once and then I forget.
It's that attention span thing, man.
But so.
Yeah, for me in the studio, it really was about having a good tone, good sound, which is, I tell all my students, listen, find out what all these electronics means. There's so much that this stuff gives you. You can't just turn everything up. Right. You got to dial it, and then how your right hand is playing. Like when you listen to Boy in the Bubble, it's a different tone than the Graceland.
Yeah.
The Graceland is much thicker tone, but you can still, feel that or hear the fretless stuff. Boy in the Bubble, it's more like the trombone kind of thing, like, like Jocko's.
Every time I see a fretless bass, I immediately think like, what's the first meow I'm gonna do on this one? Like what note am I gonna play? And it's that sweet spot, like right at the neck, like where it meets the body, and you're just like chills.
Yeah, I know some people they do that. They play like between the neck and the body.
Yeah.
But my thing was like sit on the back pickup.
Yeah.
Because that way I can dig in more, and then also to the adjustment of the tone.
Yeah.
Use more like a back pickup for that kind of sound.
Yeah.
Like something I think in the studio, not just playing the note. I know the music, maybe if it's written, but I think about what to do. Like if I'm playing 4 or 5 songs, I have to sound like a different bass player or different tones each and every song.
Yeah.
Because some of the songs, maybe it's heavy on the vocals, so I have to be light on my playing, or maybe less vocal. I can come up with some things like Diamonds.
Yeah.
When I played the Diamonds, there was a space where Paul was not doing anything, and then boom, ba ba boom, boom, to show the fretless that can sing a little bit, and then back to the groove.
Right.
So it's all about really thinking in the studio, not just like, play your part.
Yeah.
And
like the first time you heard Diamonds on the Soles of Your Shoes, like I just
don't
keep
even
thinking
know
about my
the first
brother.
time. I mean, that song is like, I heard that song before I remember hearing that song. It's a song that your parents play when I'm, 2 years old. I don't remember the first time I heard that song.
I remember I know I heard it several times, but the first time I actually actively listened to it, again, it was with my fucking brother. Right. And like that part was coming up, that little lead line. And he was like, he did that thing where like, you're excited to show a buddy. So,
are you paying attention?
Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, that was so cool.
Yeah. So you do your first tour.
Yeah.
At what point do you, like, during that, are you feeling like, oh, I am now part of Paul's band? Like, is this, you seeing this as like the next 10 years, 20 years of your life? Or are you like, I think I'm going to do this tour and probably go home?
No, man, I wanted to secure my work that I've created it. So I was really thinking a lot, and then every day, every show, I play better.
Yeah.
I perfect my part. I'm not trying to add anything, but I'm just want to make sure that my tone it's good and plays simple.
Yeah.
Because that bass lines is what direct Paul to sing. Because there were so many people. We have like 3 guitar players, 4 or 5 percussion players and drums, and like
he could have had any bass player, right? This is Paul Simon, right? He could have had any bass player in the world.
No,
yeah, but no, not for that record. Yeah,
well,
now, yeah, they can do it. But
right.
Back in the day, I got so many calls from amazing bass players. They're like, man, what the hell did you play on that record? Well, right. I wanted to be here, so I mean, like. Paul really took chances, and this man is amazing. I mean, playing for him for so many years.
Yeah,
it's about learning every day.
Yeah, right.
Learning. And then he worked with some amazing people, Anthony Jackson,
sure, right.
Lee, just amazing people. And for me to be part of it is just unbelievable.
Are you like learning English too during this? Are you like studying that as well, or you?
Yeah, my goodness, I had a terrible English teacher from London, England. The guy I could never, Andy. His name was Andy.
Is he still alive?
I think so.
Okay.
And this guy, man,
I
he
won't
talk
say
to
anything
me.
mean. Was he a jerk to you? I'll say something mean.
Or
No,
he's
no,
trying
he
to
was
teach
not
you
a jerk,
English
but he was speaking the English that was difficult, and I could never understand. He called me mate, hey mate, and I'm like, man, I'm struggling to speak English, to speak with Paul, and then this guy, I don't understand, and he's trying to tell me about what he do with my bass. He was my bass tech.
Yeah.
And then, but he suggested that I should read the children's book, the English book, because it's much lighter English.
Right.
And then he'll get me the book, and then I put the front page, a cover of the Bass Player magazine, sitting in the back of the bus. And
so you don't look like you're reading
like,
Clifford?
Hey, what are you reading, Bakithi? Just a Bass Player magazine. And then
No, but
good morning.
thinking about it, that's actually, that's how we all learned as kids, is reading Clifford and Green Eggs and Ham and stuff like that, right? And then is your like personal relationship with Paul like starting to connect at this point? Like, or is it still like go on stage and?
No, Paul was happy that he saved a musician who was desperate, who has the talent.
Yeah.
And he saw that, and he was like, look, I need to have patience with this guy because he's got something. And even still today, man, I mean, like, he is so much patient. Yeah. And but also I have to save myself to stay on the job. Yeah. Because there's one thing that they can, give you opportunity, but then you're kind of like, we'll see where he goes. But
opportunity is different than security, right?
That's right.
I'll give you the chance, but you have to you got to do the work.
Which is its own level of pressure. But you had, at this point, how many people were in the band, on the touring the touring part of the band?
Oh, my God. We had 10 singers, just the singers.
Wow.
And then we had 3 guitar players, we were like maybe about 20 or 21 on stage or something.
I mean, you really have to be on. Really have to be
on
with that sort of ensemble.
My goodness. I was more the foundation, and I was more consistent, because the guitar players, they play a bunch of stuff and the percussion. But for me, it was about the guy to direct Paul. You listen to the bass, you know where you are when you
So did you ever feel pressure from the other 25 members of the band? Like, you fuck this up, like you're putting us all in jeopardy.
No, I was just
enjoy that tonight when you go tomorrow. You're welcome.
No, I was me and the drummer. We were speaking all the time. Like, hey, look, tempos are going this way because they can't hear themselves. But me and the drummer, we gotta stay consistent. You know?
Well, especially because that the style is so syncopated, so offbeat.
Yeah,
this
is what we talk about as bass players. Bass players have this reputation as a group of being like laid back, chill, kind of like doofy and aloof.
Yeah.
But I think there's a secret sort of like, not dictator, but just leadership. Right,
leadership. Yeah.
That we just sort of inject to the project because you're the foundation right in between rhythm and melody and harmony.
Right.
And you especially are responsible for so much of driving that
two
traffic
things together. Right.
So we pretend to be like these. Oh, cool! I'm a cool guy. I'm a bass player.
Right.
Yeah.
We're
it's a lot of responsibility. You know?
Yeah.
Because too, I wanted to make sure that all those lines that I play, there's nothing on top of it.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that, when I play, the guitar player is not playing a bunch of stuff in between, because then it's chaos.
Yeah.
So, me and drum will be talking. And then, because I was playing with the South African drummer for a while, and then Steve Gadd joined. And I had to play with Steve, and Steve also.
That wasn't intimidating, I'm sure.
With Steve, he was a little scary. I'm like, I can't believe I'm playing with Dr. Steve. My God.
Yeah.
And but but he was always with me like, hey, listen, you and me, let's stay together. Let them go up and down, but don't follow them.
Right. Lock in with me. I'm curious to know, like, how did you get introduced to Joan Baez? Because I know you worked with her a bit.
Yes, Joan Baez and Cyndi Lauper and all.
Oh, yeah, a lot of Cyndi Lauper, right?
Herbie Hancock, all that stuff. Well, because Paul knew some of those people, like Cyndi and Laurie Anderson and Mamas and Papas.
Yeah.
So I just, show up in the studio and play the session. I didn't even know these people, but, I listened to the groove of the song. Okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
And play, but...
Did you ever tour with any of, like, Lauper or Baez or any of that, or was it just always session work?
It was session work,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did some stuff with Herbie Hancock on the Gershwin's Wild record.
Yeah.
And Randy Brecker, the Into the Sun.
Right.
I did a couple of shows with Randy and with Cyndi Lauper also. It was just a session.
But you did a lot of session work with Cyndi, right?
Yes. I played on Heads Full of Stars album.
Yeah.
And then I did a lot of jingles also too in New York, like, UPS, McDonald's, and all kinds of stuff, because now I was a member of the Musicians Union in New York City. So they call me for any session,
Yeah.
Sometimes I fill in on Big Apple Circus.
Yeah.
Because the bass player's got a session, so I go in as a sideman, play a little bit.
See, now I want to find those jingles, because I like, you could find some really awesome music coming just from commercial jingles, especially in that period. My favorite story is it's the Headhunters song "Doing It." No, not "Doing It." "God Made Me Funky."
Yeah.
Right, and that originally was a jingle that Paul Jackson and Mike Clark did when they were living together. There was like a barbecue restaurant like right down the street or something, and they recorded it for them, and then they put it on the radio, and people were like, what the hell is that? They call the radio station. Yeah. What was the song? Like, what was that jingle? And then they traced it back, and then eventually they're like, well, we obviously have to record an actual version of this.
My favorite story is the Luther Vandross story, where Luther used to do jingles, sing jingles. Yeah. And then there's the famous video of him, Whitney Houston, and someone else on stage, and they're riffing together. And Whitney does her run, and it's Whitney Houston, so it's incredible. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Luther does this, like, he starts really low and does the riff all the way up high, right? So then they're interviewing him about that, and they go, where did that come from? And he goes, well, when I did jingles, I was doing, I want to say it was like a barbecue sauce or barbecue restaurant. And he goes, I'm in the booth, and they go, I want you to make it like, can you do something that makes it feel like either extra warm or spicy or something? And he's like, and Luther goes, I decided to like barbecue sauce.
Dude, like, why are the best jingles from barbecue places? You got God Made Me Funky. You got the fucking Chili's,
it's
right?
So
Chili's, baby, back, like, it's so good.
Hey, it's gonna be good.
Well, that's because that's the thing is like he's on stage with Whitney, and Whitney. I mean, I'm adding a little flavor to this, and Whitney is so Whitney, right? And it's like, how does Luther compete with Whitney? And then he does a thing that just the crowd goes crazy when he does that like 6 octave barbecue sauce. All
right, so do you have a barbecue jingle somewhere?
Oh no.
No.
But Will Lee got me those sessions. You know, when I moved to New York, and he called me. He's like, hey man, they want me to play your stuff, show up. Show up, and introduced me to the jingle houses, and man, I was playing that kind of grooves like the Graceland stuff. Yeah. And then also sometimes singing. And it was a good paying stuff. Yeah, when I hear my stuff on TV, I'm like, yeah, man, I made it. And then the check is coming in the next few weeks.
Right. And then still might come in 6 months, and still might come a year from now, and international royalties and all that.
But I wanted to be a musician who's complete. You join the Musicians Union so that I'm protected, because
Right.
I'll be doing a lot of session and they give you cash money, but it's
you're not getting any back end.
You're not getting any residual
Yeah.
or anything. So I wanted to make sure that when I do the session, the musicians union, they know, they take the fee, they save pension. I'm getting pension now at 69, and that really helps.
Yeah.
I don't even have to look for gigs.
Right.
Like during the pandemic, I didn't, I wasn't gigging.
Right.
Then I called the musicians union. Hey, can you pay my rent? They're like, no problem. Send us the bills, and I send the bill. They take care of that. But because I wanted to be a musician who's secured, not just like going to gig and not knowing where you're going. I mean, I have grandchildren now,
right?
So I have to leave legacy for my family and everything. And
yeah.
Are
you? This may be a personal question you don't have to answer, but I mean, are you like sending money back to family in South Africa too?
Yes. My son has got 3 kids. And they're struggling, so I help him. He's coming to join me for my birthday, even though my birthday is past. But he said, "Dad, I'm gonna come spend some time with you, and I need money."
I'll come and spend time with you if you can fly me out.
And I sacrificed my son because when I joined the Graceland, he was 2 years old, and I said, "Man, I love him, but I gotta take this."
Right. But not just for yourself, but also for him, right?
For him. Now he understands that because he's like, listen, I sacrificed you, but now I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
He's going to get married, and his kids came to visit us in Pennsylvania. And so for me, it's about really taking care of my family. I have 2 daughters, finished colleges, and they're teaching now. One in Pennsylvania and another one in Virginia, and my son in South Africa. So everything that I'm making, it goes for them.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I'm just celebrating now and try to help them.
Yeah.
My first wife, she was born in Long Island, New York, and so when we got married, my goodness, she says to me, listen, this is not South Africa. Now you're going to be a man. You're going to be doing a lot of stuff. I'm pregnant and blah, blah, blah. I said, man, now I'm in trouble. And she'll send me to the supermarket to buy stuff like a clove of garlic. And I didn't even know what the hell is clove of garlic.
Yeah.
I go to the supermarket and I'm embarrassed to ask anybody about the clove of garlic. Then I go home. I said, honey, they don't have that. She's like, what do you mean they don't have that? I'll go with you. And then she comes with me, and then she pick up the clove of garlic. God damn it, you're not the man.
Well, it just takes time. I mean, I have a contracting business. A lot of the guys that work with me are Hispanic, and I've learned that, like, ladder means stairs. Like, we're going to work on the ladder.
I'm thinking about the leather jacket or leather pants. Yes.
Right. A ladder is stairs, and escalator can be ladder, right? Yeah. Because escalada, I think, is ladder in Spanish. So then they translate that to escalator. So like, it's just like a lot of, what are you, it takes a second to go like, what are you trying to convey to me? Yeah. Oh, I mean, their English is pretty good too. It's not like, it's really broken. It's just like stuff just kind of gets lost in translation a little bit, and you gotta.
Yeah, for me it was a disaster. Like now I have an American woman, a wife, who's pregnant. Oh my God, this is more than that I asked for.
Yeah.
Now it's not the Graceland. It's not about the Graceland. Now it's about a new family.
Yeah.
Now I gotta learn a lot of stuff. Learn how to get a driver's license in New York, and then drive in New York. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you officially become a resident?
1993.
93?
10 years, right? After, because Graceland was 83, right?
1980. We recorded 1985. 1986 was released. 1987 we went on tour.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, okay, I need to move to the US.
Yeah, and then I met this lady. She was working at Paul's office, and she used to take us to the bank and cash the money. And then she asked me if I like Chinese food, and I said, I've never eaten Chinese food. Yeah, let's do it. I don't care.
So she asked you out, huh?
Yeah. And then after that, she's like, hey, come to Brooklyn. I have a nice apartment, and I'm a musician. I'm a singer. I would love you to play the bass. And I'm like, oh, this is getting better. The next thing, I moved into Brooklyn now. The tour is over, and I'm like, I'm not going back to South Africa.
I mean, who can blame you, right? Like, nobody's going to blame you.
My life changed, but once she started talking about the Lamas, I said, what is that? And she says, well, you have to be there for me when I give back. You got to hold my hand because I have contractions.
Yeah.
I used to get messed up. You have constructions already. She said, God damn it, go to school. And then you messed up. And then I learned. I said, you know what? This is great. I'm going to see my babies born because in South Africa, when my son was born, I wasn't there. They told me to go away for
really?
2 weeks and then come back when he's born and then take a look at him and see if the feet, they look like mine, the hands. Yeah.
Weird.
And I saw him, I said, yeah, that's my son. Now, my daughters, I was there. I cut the umbilical cord.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Which is very special.
Yeah.
Now we're so connected with my kids.
That's good. That's really nice.
So when you first visited America, I kind of want to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
You get off the plane, you're JFK.
Yes.
What's
the guy picks us up with the limousine. We start clicking like, what the hell? This is like,
We start
when
clicking.
we're going to the funeral.
Yeah. But you obviously had to get something to eat, right? What was the first American cuisine that you had experienced?
My goodness.
And what was the reaction?
The burger.
Yeah.
I mean, they have some stuff in South Africa, like Wimpy Burger, because it's more like British stuff. And the burgers, the pizzas, oh my God, in New York. I remember the first day we came, I didn't take the nap during the day, but then I didn't even go to bed at night because everything was 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you can buy a shirt at 3 o'clock in the morning or underwear. It was crazy. And I was eating everything, hot dogs and just loading up with some stuff, pizza, sushi. I've never eaten sushi before. Hey, I'll try it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's
great. But it was a big change.
But what was your favorite of all of those things? Like, what was the thing where you're like, oh, shit, my life's over now. I've just discovered...
Everything, man.
Everything.
Everything. I cannot say one thing, but everything was... It was like, yes.
Keep going.
This is my life where I dream about coming to America and play music because of the records that I see the names of great people like Marcus Miller, Victor Bailey, Stanley Clark, like just Jacos. I want to go there to learn, not to showcase anything, but the Graceland became like, hey, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. I got something here.
Yeah.
People can learn from it,
You absolutely are correct. I mean, there's so many after that.
Yeah, and it's Paul. Everything, he deserves a lot of credits because, he trusted this and he made it really like to be the big one. When the Graceland came, it was like #1 best-selling record.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody had really heard that.
No.
Like that sort of connection, like with these sort of like Americana sort of folk roots intersecting again, like with the music of Africa.
It was an amazing timing. And so now another thing, I recorded with Harry Belafonte before the Graceland. I think it was 1982 or 83 before the Graceland. But Harry was not there. He was his musical director, Richard Cummings. So we recorded the Kazankulu, the African stuff, with Harry Belafonte. And then 2-3 years later, Graceland. And I got another opportunity to play on the Graceland, but the Graceland went bigger than,
Obviously, right?
But also, too, the Harry thing was political because he had told Paul that before you go and work with musicians in South Africa, you got to talk to the organizations people. Paul is like, no, who are they? They're not musicians, just politicians. And but he didn't do that. He just went direct with us, and it became a little problem later on. But that helped the Graceland to sell, because places where we went to play, there was people with picketing the show, like, oh no, this happened. But at the end of that, they go inside and watch the show and dance with us.
Yeah.
Some of those people come to our dressing room and eating our food, and
Right.
But it's like, you had a problem with us, now you hanging out with us.
I know you got to get to rehearsal, so I don't want to keep you much longer. But we have a tradition here where at the end of the podcast we ask you some rapid fire bass questions.
Yes.
So I want to grab my thing here because I also put a
bass questions.
Yeah, just about your gear a little bit.
He's usually like gear focused,
right?
And then I'm usually just whatever is going through my mind. So just try to clear your head. First answer, no wrong answers.
Yeah, no wrong answers here. But I did also put a thing on our Instagram for people to submit questions. So I have a couple of those. One question. Hold on here. I asked Corey and Kevin from No Trouble if they had any questions.
Yes.
And Kevin had a question that I thought was really good. He said, I know Paul Simon's had some hearing problems, and he wondered if your gear, like you play different gear because of his hearing issues. Or do you like what you play or the gear you play different because of Paul's hearing problems?
Yes, there's a lot of adjustment for this tour. That's why they call it a quiet tour.
Okay.
That I cannot use 4 10s and then one 15-inch speaker.
Yeah.
So right now I'm using the 4 5-inch speakers.
Yeah.
Phil Jones, the little one on stage, and then but the bass is going through the DI to get the massive sounds in the front.
Yeah.
But on stage, it's less volume. I mean, I could have used the nano bass, that little one.
Yeah.
And still hear myself.
Yeah.
So yes, the sound is changed for his hearing, so he can hear. Because the bass will be too much problem for him to hear because of the too much low ends. So the setup is different, and he has a lot of stuff that he can hear well, and the bass is way far for him.
Yeah. Is your playing style affected too? Like, do you play differently?
I play different now. Like these songs that I'm playing, I'm using more muting. I mute so that I can control the longer notes dynamics.
Okay. Especially in a venue like the Symphony Center, it's just
My
it's so
God.
booming. It's designed for orchestra,
Yeah. But because we have a really good sound guy, and then on stage it's really less volume. If anybody wants something, you have your own monitor. You can put stuff, but I can hear my bass right behind me.
Yeah.
Very little sound.
Yeah.
Just to feel that it's there. But it's about guitars and Paul, and then just support the foundation, especially when we play like songs like Graceland, Under African Skies, the other stuff.
Okay. But somebody submitted a question. Which drummers did you enjoy playing with the most?
Every drummer is great, man. I would say playing with Steve Gadd, Steve Gadd, and then Isaac Mjali, the one who played on the Graceland.
Yeah.
I played with David Garibaldi when I was with Mickey Hart. I played on the Mickey Hart's Planet Drum project. It was a whole different groove with David Garibaldi. Now, my thing about drummers, I adjust on what they play and try to, to support their playing.
Sure.
But definitely, Steve. And then this drummer that he's playing with us, this few shows, Matt Chamberlain.
Matt Chamberlain?
Oh, yeah.
He's phenomenal. I mean, his stuff is a little different than Steve. But he's just filling up for Steve for now, and then Steve will be back in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome.
But every drummer, I play with Vinny Kauda, and I play with Omar, I play with Buddy Williams, and I mean, like, for me, I'm a student.
Yeah.
You know, playing with those drums, I just want to make sure that I'm playing the right thing. They can tell me what, you know,
serve
what
the
they
song
want me to play. Because
right.
they played with some amazing musicians.
The one that stands out that you just mentioned, Omar Hakim, is one of my favorites.
What was that show? It was like Night Flight or whatever. It was like a late night music show.
With Marcus playing, Hiram Bullock.
Yeah. What was that called? It was like Night Flight, I think it was called.
David Sanborn was on that one.
Oh,
and there was one with Marcus Miller, Omar Hakim.
Yeah. All right, well, so now we'll get into the rapid fire questions.
Yes.
All right, there are no wrong answers. First thing that comes to your head. If you want to pass, we'll just pass. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Active or passive basses?
Both.
Both. Do you have a favorite fretboard material? Rosewood, maple, ebony?
First I played the darker wood.
Like a rosewood or ebony?
Ebony, yes.
Yeah.
On the Graceland. And then now I have the maple, like Kiso basses, they make my basses.
Yeah.
So they combine the wood so that I get the right sound where I can get a fretless sound on the fretted.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like every wood is fine with me. It's just the electronics, how to dial in to get my sound, whether it's maple or rosewood, you know.
Okay.
I still get that same.
Do you prefer solid state or tube amps?
It depends. You know, solid state is good. The tube is good. Like I use the tube DI for my recording, and it's good. You get really good sound out of it.
Okay. Do you prefer a hard case or a gig bag?
Gig bag.
Do you have a favorite gig bag?
You know, I was using Gators case, but I'm trying to move on now and get something that I can put more stuff on my gig bag.
Yeah.
And lighter to carry, because some of those cases they heavy.
Okay. We touched a little bit on your rig. What's your current bass setup? What are you playing for bass?
You mean the bass guitar?
Yeah. You got a Kiesel.
I have the Kiesel.
Okay.
All my basses is Kiesel, and then the upright bass is Ennis Design.
Okay. Yeah, the Steinberg. And then you're going
the ukulele bass. I have my U bass signature.
Oh, right.
The Kala.
Kala U bass. And then you said you're going through the Phil Jones, right?
Yes.
And that was a 4x5 inch.
It's called the suitcase.
The suitcase.
Yeah, the four fives.
Okay. And then are you using any pedals?
No.
No pedals.
No pedals.
Do you have a favorite pedal, or are you just not a pedal guy?
I'm now at home, my own project. I use the pedals, and I was working with Roland. They sent me one of the. It's a recording RC600.
Okay.
And then David Koltai, the Pictronics.
Yeah.
He's a good friend
and
of mine.
Supro. He took over Supro.
Yeah. So and we're neighbors.
Yeah.
So he's kind of gave me some stuff. He's crazy, and I said, man, listen, I don't want too much stuff. You know, I don't even like the chorus on my fretless, because I feel like it's just taking the sound of the fretless. So I like to make my own chorus by playing, but I like some digital delay, stuff like that with the reverb, you know.
Okay.
For my own project, my own recordings,
Sure.
But not for Paul. For Paul, I just play straight clean bass.
Okay. Do you have a favorite string that you use?
Labella strings. I've been with Labella since the Graceland. Yeah, there was a time where I played DR strings. Yeah. Because Mark Dronger was a great friend of mine too, and I played some of them, but they were too hard. Yeah. You know, for me to get that sound. And then Labella, they decided to make my own signature strings.
Oh, you got a signature with Labella.
I have my signature strings, and then I have my piccolo, because I play piccolo at home. So the piccolo, my piccolo is F, C, G, D. The lowest is the D.
Yeah.
And they make those strings for me.
Okay.
For my own recordings.
Sure. Are you using flats then on your fretless?
The round ones.
Oh, you're using round ones on the...
I love that sound.
Because then you can balance, like it's not dull. I can still get the good sound if I want like the fretless sound or upright sound or the slapping sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still get that right. But if it's all dull, it's like,
Have you been using round wounds the entire time? On fretless?
All the time.
So can you do me a huge favor? I get so many people that will say I want to get a round wound sound, but I know that you can only use flats on a fretless. I'm like, no, you can use round wounds. Here's a few records as a reference. Well, it's gonna destroy the fingerboard and blah blah blah. Can you help me dispel that right now?
It has to destroy the fingerboard. Then it sounds better when it's destroyed.
There it is.
I get that people want to baby their instrument and preserve it and make it pristine. It's just, but fucking play it, man. It sounds so good.
I love that because the thing, you have the preamps, you can tone it the way you want it to get that sound.
Yeah.
So if I want the slapping, I get really good clear sound. But when you have the dead string, it's I don't know.
It's got its own tone.
But it's everybody's choice what they want to do. But
sure.
I like my round strings because they give me what exactly I want.
Okay. Who are a couple of your favorite bass players?
All of them. All of them. We're like a big community of bass players.
Yeah.
I respect everyone. I respect the newcomer.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go to YouTube and see these young people playing amazing, and I said, man, I hope they know where they're going with this. They sound great, but the direction is more important. But a lot of bass players, really good friend of mine. Like Victor Bailey was a good friend of mine. I used to visit him in Brooklyn when he lived in Brooklyn. Marcus, I know Marcus. But everybody's great.
Yeah.
Buddy Brunel, Jaco, Brian Brombeck.
Yeah.
Good working bass players.
Yeah.
That's, because as a bass player, you got to work. You can't be sitting in the basement and playing a bunch of notes.
Yeah.
You need to be part of the ensemble.
Yeah. Who is there a band or artist that you wish you could either record an album with or do a tour with that you've never worked with before?
Either current or, long past.
I would say pretty much I played with everybody. I played with Derek Trucks and Susan.
Yeah.
I played on their album called Misunderstood.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even know who those people, Southern Blues, and they had to educate me because I'm a student and I learn,
Do you remember the first time you heard Derek pick up a guitar and you're in the room and you go what is happening right now, right?
I met Derek in, I think we were in Singapore or Taiwan. I was playing with Paul and they were playing there a blues jazz festival. And I listened to him and I'm like, man, this guy is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. He's playing just so amazing.
Yeah.
And after the show, and he said, now I want to talk to you about some project. I'm doing some recording. Would you be interested? And I said, sure.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know the music. And they flew me to Florida, Jacksonville, to record the album with Pino Palladino. We split the tracks together for that album, Misunderstood. And then after that, he asked me, hey, you want to come on tour with us? Yes, let's do it. And I had to learn the whole...
everything, right.
And I remember the first day we were doing a sound check in California, and Otil Babridge was sitting at the monitor mix guy, talking to the mix guy. I didn't see him, I'm running the song with the band and I'm playing. And then after we finished the sound check, he comes on stage. He's like, dude, man, you playing the stuff that have been... I work on this for 7-8 years, and you just show up and play. I said, man, it's all about listening. For me, I get good ear, not not reading, but the feel, and I thank him, like, for playing such a great stuff, and
Yeah.
That's
do my
awesome.
thing. But yeah, Derek was great, and Mickey Hart, and I played with Eileen Ivers Irish music,
Yeah.
and she took me to Ireland and playing all that stuff. Just learning, because as musicians, you never stop learning. If you think you know something, no, not yet, man. Go to other countries and learn stuff.
Yeah. You gotta approach the instrument with a curious mind.
Yeah, you just open your head to learn more stuff, because there's rhythmic stuff, there's harmony stuff. Some rhythmic stuff, it's complicated to get. Like, I played a song that has 9/8. Boom, boom, boom. I didn't know 9/8 until I had to learn from the guy from Cameroon.
Yeah. Right.
But music is about learning. It's an endless college.
Yeah.
For me.
Right. A question that's unrelated to music, but has been a question that we ask everybody. It's more of a litmus test of, well, I won't even get into that.
Oh.
All right. But the question is, you go to the grocery store, you got all your groceries in the cart.
You got your garlic?
You got your clove of garlic.
Clove of garlic.
You got your ketchup. You take the cart to your car.
Yeah.
You unload the groceries into your car. Now you got an empty cart.
Yes.
What do you do with that cart? Do you put it in the corral? Do you bring it back to the store? Or you just kind of secure it somewhere?
No, I follow the instructions. Now some supermarket, like where I live in Pennsylvania, you have to put your quarter.
Oh, to get the thing, right.
Mm-hmm. Then you get it. So when you're done, you return it.
Right, and get your quarter back.
They give you the quarter back, which is really saving, because when you put the card next to your car and then you leave, that thing will roll and hit somebody's car.
Right.
So
happened to me once. Right in the middle of fucking Fullerton Avenue. I'm like going 20 miles an hour, and I see it coming out of the Tony's parking lot. And I slam on the brakes, nail it, and they denied any response. Anyway.
Right.
It happens, and then also that can create a lot of problems, because if somebody see you doing that, then could be a fight right there.
Yeah.
So I try to be part of the community. And people sometimes
Part of the community. Interesting.
The people, they see me sometimes walking with my bags, because my house is 5 minutes away and I'm not driving. I'm just walking with my bags. And people, they'll recognize me and stop. One guy, he passed me and then he stopped and then he was backing up. It's like, hey, aren't you that guy, the bass player who played with Paul Simon? I can't say your name. I said, yeah, I'm that guy, and what's up? Like, man, you need a ride? And I'm like, no, my house is 5 minutes away. I'm good.
Yeah.
Because I see my neighbors, and I help my neighbors sometimes shovel the snow with them, and, just be part of the community. And
putting your shopping cart away.
Put your shopping cart
away. The shopping cart away, yes.
That's part of that equation.
Well, you mentioned your name.
Right?
I was going to ask that. I want to address this.
We've been saying it wrong for years, folks.
I looked at your... You say.
No. No.
Well, everyone I hear says Bakithi.
Yeah.
But when I looked at your EPK, you have it phonetically spelled out Bakithi, right? With the G-E-E, Gee.
Yeah.
As instead of key, it's Gee.
Yeah, Bakithi.
Because
the K
not
sounds
Bakithi.
Yeah, the Thi is not, it's T, like the T, Bakithi.
But so the key and the Gee are I think the key are the parts that everybody gets, because if you read it, it looks like Bathiki.
Bathiki.
But it's Bagiki.
Yeah. You know who called me Batiki? Chuck Rainey. He said, Batiki. He's Chuck, I'll take it.
Yeah, whatever.
No, but it's Bakithi.
Bakithi.
Yeah, sometimes I teach people with the rhythm. Bakithi Kumalo, Bakithi Kumalo, Bakithi Kumalo, Bakithi Kumalo.
Well, so that's all the questions I have. I know Mark has some questions for you, so go, shoot.
So you're wearing a Parlor Donuts hat. Where is that located?
Oh, this was in Nashville.
Nashville?
Yes, and the reason why I wear this hat, I was in Nashville getting my coffee, and then there was Call Me Al playing on the radio. And I'm like, wow, this is great. I'm coming to get my coffee, and they call me out, and I start dancing, and the people they're dancing there, and then I told them I played the bass on that. They're like, wow, is that you? And then we took pictures. They gave me the hat, and I'm like, I love this store.
Well,
Now,
what was the donut that you got? Did you get a donut from them?
no, because
You went to a donut shop, did get a donut?
No, I got a coffee. I got a coffee.
Was the coffee good?
The coffee was good. He was amazing. I like the good coffee, especially before the sound check, because it's gonna be a long day.
What's your favorite kind of coffee? Not like brand, but like roast level.
I like cappuccino.
You like a cappuccino?
Cappuccino with the hot milk, and then sweetener.
What's your go-to sweetener?
Huh?
What's your go-to sweetener? What do you prefer?
Splenda or Equal.
Yeah. Okay. All right. When's the first time you heard a piece of music that brought you to tears or near tears?
I would say Graceland.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it about that?
Because for me it was about a joy and a freedom. Like, this record saved my life. And the fact that every household had that record. I met a lot of people, a lot of kids, just loving this record. And for me, that was, because I remember I cried after I finished recording this. I said, man, I can't believe my life is going to change.
Yeah.
It's going to change. It was,
Yeah.
Graceland.
Do you get emotional on stage when you play that one?
Yes, and in a way that the people that I started this project with them, they're all gone, they all passed. So, and every time I play, I think about them. Every time, I came with a bunch of people. Now I'm here by myself now.
And you're carrying on that legacy, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it's to just represent them, and doing interviews and talk about them. Like, I'm just so grateful that I met them and we created this monster project, and now they're gone. So, but I'm celebrating this for them.
Yeah.
And educating the younger people. I do music mentors, and I talk about these guys and ask the kids to learn how to play that music so that they can be better musicians in the future.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I really don't have any other questions. We covered a lot of good.
Yeah, we got. I mean, I feel like we could talk for another couple hours, but I know you got places to go. I know you're on tour right now with Paul.
Yes.
So if anybody wants to see the show, I'm sure it's not hard to find Paul Simon's tour
go
schedule.
To Paul's dates, and we all over America.
Yeah.
We actually almost finished. I think once we're done here, we're going to go to Canada.
Yeah.
A couple of shows in Canada, and then come back Philadelphia and all over the place. And I haven't seen my house in a long time. My grass is growing like crazy. So.
And then if somebody wants to follow you on Instagram or somewhere on your website, where would they go?
My website, it's bakithikumalobass.com.
Okay.
They can follow me, and also too, I give lessons. People can contact me if they want some little bass stuff from me, and I'm willing to give. I run music mentors with a bunch of kids, bunch of schools. I did one in Long Island. I had 40 kids, and Pennsylvania had 48 kids. They all showed up, 5 bass players, and then the rest is orchestra, trombone, trumpet, this and that.
Yeah.
Which is something I like to do, because I tell the story about growing up in South Africa, not having the instrument.
Yeah.
But determined to go forward and not lose your vision, your dream. Just you go for it. It's not going to be easy. It wasn't easy for me. So, but I help these kids, and then sometimes they raise money for the schools, because I know the schools are struggling. So when I do these workshops, we do a concert with the kids. They raise money, they take money and buy some stuff they need for their instruments or for the schools. And bass players, they're very lucky. I give a lot of my basses to bass players.
Right.
You know, but this is something that I like to do in honor of Paul, to say thank you to Paul for giving me this opportunity to share with, you know, the kids everywhere. I go everywhere and then rehearse with the kids maybe a week to get like 10 songs together. So at least I teach them how to practice under pressure, but stay focused. When you have the assignment at home to learn the song, learn it, and then come back to us. Let's put the band together, because it's not about one person.
Rehearsal is not practice.
Yeah, rehearsal and practices are two different things.
At home, and I tell the kids, you tell your mom or your dad you cannot do the errands until there's a song that you need to fix. And then sometimes they call me direct, and I sit on the web with them and just, you know, show them stuff. But this is something I like to do, and I'm doing this now more than playing my own gigs.
Yeah. Well, that's good. There's a train about.
Coming, yeah.
It's like Brooklyn.
I'm sorry for keeping this as a footnote, but is there any particular projects that you're particularly excited about, like solo projects, records that you're working on?
Music mentors. Music mentors. Yeah, music mentors, and it's easy for me. I work with the music teachers, the school. For an example, if I come to Chicago, we find a school that the kids, they play music, they're interested, come in and work with the music teachers to get me all the students and put something together. Because my thing is not to teach kids how to play. They already know that. But my story is what motivates them. Like, wow, this guy came from South Africa, he didn't have a bass until he was like 18, 19 years old, and look at him now. The kids get pumped up. Yeah. And I tell them, listen, just... if you love music, because it starts with love, and then you got to figure out how to play. Yeah. But if you don't love music, you're doing it because you've been forced, that's not going to work. You know, so that's my message for the kids. You know.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time, and we'll get some stuff going here, some stuff edited together, and we'll see everybody else on the next one. Peace.
Bye-bye.